Let's look at what Gimmel Tammuz is, not according to what people think, but according to what Torah says. There's so much to it in the Parshas Kairach, Gimmel Tammuz, how it all comes together. How are miracles unfolding in the world today? How quickly do they go? What does Gimmel Tammuz have to do with the speed of how the world is moving forward? So in the Sikha of Parshas Kairach, Tafshin and Aleph, we'll just do the Sikha straight. The Rebbe is saying that Gimmel Tammuz is the day when the Frierdiker Rebbe was released from prison, Shpelerka in Leningrad, and the condition was that he should go into Galus immediately. There was a sentence, opposite of life, on the Frierdiker Rebbe, and on Gimmel Tammuz that sentence was turned around. So that's a very big thing. We'll look at it in a second. The idea of life supposed to come to an end, and on the contrary, something turns it all around, and life now continues. And in a way, if it continues, it switched from ending to continuing forever. Imagine that. Imagine being in a situation where whatever was supposed to end, we didn't want it to end, it suddenly becomes eternal. That's what's going to happen to life in Mashiach times. The finite life that we have will become eternal. That's a big change. So getting back to the Sikha, the condition was that instead of the sentence that they had on the Rebbe, he was sent to his Ir Miklat in Kasrama for 3 years. And eventually, we know it was supposed to be for 3 years. It ended up being only 10 days, which was pretty surprising. But when they did not know, when Gimmel Tammuz happened, here they understood there was a sentence on the Rebbe. Then they found out on Gimmel Tammuz that he's being sent to Galus. Was it a good thing? Was it not a good thing? How could it be why wouldn't it be a good thing? Seems like being sent to an Ir Miklat, somewhere off in Galus, is a lesser sentence than being in prison. However, as long as the Rebbe was under the public eye, and he very much was, there was a huge amount of governmental public pressure on the Rebbe, on the governments, to release the Rebbe. Everything was being watched, even though it was in communist Russia. Everything was being watched. Once he is sent to Galus, nobody sees what's going on. You could say from a political point of view, governments only have so much patience to help people out here and there. When they feel that they've accomplished what they had to, they do move on to other issues. So you can imagine that the governments that put pressure on the Russian government, when they saw that the death sentence was off, they were satisfied, they moved on. We succeeded, end of issue, let's go on. That became really frightening. That's why Hasidim didn't know if it was a good thing, because nobody's watching. Nobody's watching. The KGB, they had their ways. As long as no one's watching, they could do whatever they decided to do. So then you can imagine that Hasidim didn't know if Gimmel Tammuz was a good thing or a bad thing. On some level they said, we think there was a Galus before. This just began a Galus that's way more intense. Who knows what's going to be? So the only way they found out that the whole thing had turned around was when 10 days later, miraculously, the Rebbe was released on Yud Beis Yud Gimmel Tammuz. Really miraculously. Then they were able to look back and wonder, well, this was a geula, wasn't it? We did not know. When did this geula that we weren't sure it was a geula begin? Ah, they look back and they realize it began on Gimmel Tammuz. So we understand Gimmel Tammuz to be a day that is the beginning of Geula in a way that it feels like the beginning of Galus. So just going back to how it happened, the question is why it happened that way. And the question is also, why did it happen in these stages? And they look back and they see. So, and what was the big problem with what the Russians were planning to do? It would have put into danger, Rahman Islam, the whole process of the revelation of Chassidus. As it says, wohl doch eingestellt in Sakane und ungerührt Rahman Islam dem ganzen Hemschache Ingen von Abbasatar the Chizaka Yahadis Bechlal. The spreading of Torah in the entire world that was being spearheaded by the Rebbeim would have come to an end. Or the KGB tried to bring it to an end. That would have changed all of history. So the question is, thank God the Geula came, but why in stages? Why wasn't it one big, one-step miracle? That's it. One time. No, but it had to be, watch this. First he was released from prison on Gimmel Tammuz. Then he was sent to Gullus. And then several days after that, released fully. And then so much more. 70 years until that enemy really lost its power. The KGB, that was challenging the eternity of Hafatas Amayanas, of spreading Torah in the world, that organization that was dedicated to stopping the spreading of Torah in the entire world, the KGB, it took 70 years to defeat them. And really only Hashem himself, the Rebbeim, defeated them. And that was miraculous too. Tafshin Nun, 1990. A coup that was a bloodless coup. Very strange. Wow. Felt like it was out of nowhere. So again, why so many stages? And by the way, we're talking about Tafresh Pei Zion 1927 when Yud Beis Tammuz happened. From 1927 to 1990, I don't know, do the math. Almost 70 years. Right, almost 70 years. Why in stages? Well, there's a reason. When we're talking about the Meiser and Geula of a Nasi, the Yisrael, and a general Geula for all Yidden, what does that mean, a general Geula? What did the previous Rebbe say? When he was freed, he said, Lo aisil b'vad gal HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Yud Beis Tammuz. I'm not the only one who was redeemed on Yud Beis Tammuz. Then who else? Is Gam es kol mechavei Toraseinu HaKadosha. Those who hold my Torah precious. Shomrei Mitzvah. The Gam es asher b'shem Yisrael Yikuna. Those who cherish Torah, those who cherish mitzvahs, they were redeemed as well. What about the others? Those who don't seem to cherish it at all. Those who don't seem to cherish it at all. They only have a connection because they're called by the name Jew. And it feels to them like it means nothing to them. They themselves also have a redemption on Yud Beis Tammuz. Starts on Gimmel Tammuz. So, again, why in stages? And it's a bit of a long answer, but an incredible understanding about how our Yeshuas, how these things work. And on a personal level. We're in C-space of the Sikha because in the day of Gimmel Tammuz, many years before, there was a miracle at that point. So Gimmel Tammuz is a day that's associated with miracles. Not always miracles that you feel at the time, because that was the day we know Yeshua got the sun to stand still. Shemesh b'Givan Daim. Sun stands still in Givan. Of course, we know the sun, when it moves, it sings Shira. The sun and the moon and the stars, they affect how things work in the world. The events that are happening, the whole nature, the whole cycle of nature. So making the sun stand still means so Yeshua knew that in order for the sun and the stars and the constellations to move, they move and they sing. They're quiet, they stop moving. They move, they control all of nature. How do you nullify their power? How do you stop the whole process of them controlling all the laws of nature? Obviously being given permission by Hashem to do that. Well, Yeshua knew the secret. You stop them from moving. How do you stop them from moving? You stop them from singing. So that's what he did. He didn't say, Shemesh b'Givan, Amod, Yamod, sun in Givan, stand still. He did not. It might say that in the English translation. Daim means shh, be silent, don't talk, don't sing, don't do anything, no sound, no noise. He didn't tell it to stop moving. He said, just don't make any noise. And automatically it's a package deal. If it was told to be quiet, and he told it, then it had to move. Then it had to stop moving. So, and that's the way we were able to defeat our enemies. Okay, you want to say, they were on their turf, we were not on our turf, they knew the territory, so we needed more sunlight, so the sun stayed out a whole night so we could see where we were fighting, so we won the war. Fine, yes, it's true, but that's not the important thing. The flow of Mazel was going to the nations of the world. Well, as long as it was. Remember, Eretz Canaan. We're told Eretz Canaan will be yours. It is yours. It will become Eretz Yisrael. Go in and take it. Hashem, at what point does the flow stop to them? Because they do live there. They don't think they're supposed to give it to us. Not consciously. If you're telling us to go in, conquer the land, and settle it, it's kind of funny. We have some neighbors there who don't want to move. They don't want to move because the flow of the laws of nature is coming to them. They may win the war. They actually said, well, we'll fight for the right to stay here. The fight is still going on, isn't it? Excuse me. The fight is still going on. So the point was, and only the Nasi Adar knew it, the flow of energy has to stop and be given to the Yidden. And that's what he did. They get their flow from the sun, the stars, the moon. We don't. not directly. We don't. We get our flow directly from Hashem. That flow to them was stopped. Now our advantage was able to predominate, was able to take over. And we were able to win the war, to take back Eretz Canaan and make it into Eretz Yisrael. So in the Sikha, the Rebbe is saying that every year that repeats itself, because every year is the anniversary of Gimmel Tammuz. That's the day that everything we just said happened. So there's got to be some connection between the Gimmel Tammuz of the previous Rebbe and the time of Yeshua. And then there's one other question. If we're talking about a miracle and something so great like stopping the sun, in fact, it says that in a way it was among the greatest miracles that happened. And the pasuk says, "V'haya kayom hahu l'fanav v'achrav." There was never a day like that before or afterwards. So again, why such a day? Why was he given such a power? Why did he have this thought, Yeshua? So that we should be able to continue the war and win. So how about Hashem in one shot? That's it. One-time deal. That's it. But it was really done in stages even then. It's not like we just automatically won the war. The sun stood still. The flow was stopped to them. We had to fight a natural war. All the things you do in a natural war, we had to do it. We were working within nature, but nature shifted where it was sending its flow to. So Hashem, just, give us the victory, one shot. And Hashem said, no. And by the way, as it says, Ulechol b'nei Yisrael ha'or v'mosh v'isam. Remember when we were in Mitzrayim? Hashem gave us light at the end and then darkness. Okay? Good as here. But, yes, okay, but Hashem hishlach aleim avanim gdalos min hashamayim. There was a lot going on. Gimmel Tammuz, I don't want to cloud the issue, that Gimmel Tammuz. And Hashem was helping. It wasn't just he told us to fight naturally. He's sending from above of big stones, big rocks that were, attacking the enemy. So here's the question. What kind of a miracle was it stopping the sun? And it's a cryptic question. I'll say it in Yiddish. See, this is given nur benegedem prat, was in the to Eisir and Tachtasane. Was this miracle just about the detail to get this miracle happening? You want sunlight, but everything else keeps on moving. Don't disturb too much. Just make sure, we're talking about sun, moon, stars. So it all controls nature. So maybe the sun would just stop and everything else would keep on going as regular. That's just that detail. Or did all the constellations stop? Good question. Truth is, the whole thing stopped. Why is it important? Not only why is it important about that, what is the difference between these two different kinds of miracles, the way it happened? Was it a miracle that broke nature? What would be a miracle that breaks nature? The sun stops, everything else moves. Moon, stars, constellations, everything keeps on going naturally, just the sun steps out of line and stops. That's a miracle that breaks nature. Or, oder Nes was poilt in dem Teva Shemesh. Was it a miracle that actually has an effect on the whole Seder Hishtalshalos, the whole movement of the constellations? And we could say in these two different kinds of nisim, the Nes did not change nature. Like, let's take a couple of different kinds of nisim. The Nes of Makas Dam, the Makkah of blood. Remember the water in Mitzrayim. The water turned to blood. But water, it remained water. But it turned to blood. Und wenn der Nes is nifsak geworden, when the Nes stopped, memela, it went back to water. It was a temporary holding things, moving things into a different frequency, but it goes back, the Nes stops, it goes back to its default mode. Water remains water. Or, there's another case. In this case, Vayidon Hashemesh, the sun is quiet. Right? Is that temporary? What is it? So the second kind of miracle would be a nes that changes teva, and it changes the metzias of the thing. An example, Miriam. Her hands turn to Tzoras, look like snow. And after the Tzoras on her hands, in order to go back to a hand that did not have Tzoras, it needed another nes. So look at the difference. One is you temporarily change it, you let go, and it switches back to its original state. The other one is you change it, now it's permanently changed. Now to change it back, you need a new miracle. See the difference? And so that's like, and there's one more nakuda here. That's like the stick of Aaron in the Parsha. Because, and that's one more nakuda here, putting them all together. Let's look at the Parsha for a second, and it'll all fall into place. There was a dispute about the kahuna of Kairos. Kairos said, why should Aaron and Moshe be exalted? I'm from Shevet Levi, or I'm from there. Why them? Why not me? Good point. Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, tell every head of every Nasi to take their staff. There are 12 Nesiim. Everybody write your name on the staff, on the stick that belongs to your Shevet, and the name of Aaron, he will write on his stick for Shevet Levi, and put them in the Mishkan, all 12 sticks. In the morning, take them out. Let's see if they still all look the same. And says Hashem, the man that I choose, his stick, his dry stick, a cane, a stick, a walking stick, it will bud, it will produce foliage. Dry sticks don't produce foliage. Why not? Why not? They're dead. They don't produce foliage anymore. Dry sticks don't do that. So, one of them will. That will be a miracle. Let's see who does it. And so, everyone did it. And in the morning, Vayava Moshe la'ayla edus, v'hinei parach mata Aaron, the Beis Levi. They came in the morning. They took out all the sticks. Moshe Rabbeinu took them all out. Every stick remained a stick, except for the one of Aaron from Shevet Levi. It had foliage on it, buds, leaves, flowers, fruits. Wow. A dead stick, a dry stick, acting like a live tree, a live branch. And so, Moshe Rabbeinu took it out and showed it to everybody and said, now you'll know. This is Hashem's proof, whom the kahuna belongs to. Eshev is mata Aaron lifnei ha'edus mishmeres ois. And he put the stick back in there so that it should be there for eternity. Zikaron shebacharti ba'aron hakayim. It's a proof. Hashem said, I have chosen Shevet Levi. I have chosen Aaron from Shevet Levi. End of dispute. We're done. Good point. What does it have to do with all the miracles we're talking about? Remember, our original question is miracles. The miracle of Gimmel Tammuz. Gimmel Tammuz is a miracle, a Yeshua, a Geula, that when you look at it happening, it looks like you just began a very strong gullus. When it's all said and done, you look back and you realize it was actually a moment of very strong Geula. It just didn't look like that. And the question is, why for this kind of Geula to happen, does it have to come in stages? We could already surmise. We're talking about a miracle, transforming Gullus to Geula, transforming a hostile, oppositional world to a world that's there on our side. We stand at that moment in history right now, by the way. And we're kind of scratching our heads and wondering, how's this transformation going to happen? They seem awfully hostile. What's going to happen to change it? You can imagine that for Hashem to create such a miracle that goes specifically through the laws of nature, it needs to go in stages. Why does it need to go in stages? The world isn't that ready for such a massive revelation of truth. It's slow digestion. The world, the laws of nature, the world of nature kind of need to get used to this higher truth step by step by step. So as the Rebbe is saying it here, what's important is, what the question we have is, since Parach Mat Aaron, the flowering of Aaron's stick was a nace to show whom Hashem had chosen for kahuna, the Rebbe says it would seem that it's good enough if the stick looks different from everybody else's stick. It has flowers on it, or fruits, something. One difference. Everybody else's stick is dry. Aaron's has flowers on it. That's it. But it wasn't that. We got it. We know whom Hashem has chosen. But why this whole process of buds, flowers, fruits, the leaves, the entire natural process of something growing from beginning to end? Why did you need that? And with almonds, there's a 21-day cycle from beginning to end. Very fast. It's maybe the fastest growing fruit, 21 days. And yet, this whole cycle didn't take 21 days. It happened overnight. So we're understanding something here. And all of this is connected with Gimmel Tammuz, Parshas Kairach. The miracles in nature that normally take a lot of time to happen, a lot of stages, went on fast speed, fast forward. Still in stages, going through all the natural stages, but on fast forward. It just speeds it up. And the Gemara says in Yaima, Mishen Nignas Aaron Nignas Imoy, Makla Shel Aaron. When the Aaron was hidden underneath the place of the Beit HaMikdash, so was the stick of Aaron. It's there as a testimony to a lot of things. Everything we're learning in this sikha, that stick represents all of this. And the nekuda is, as the Rebbe says in the sikha here, the whole point and the chiddush on the mace is that even though mitzad the mata, down here in the world, the nature of a stick is, it's a stick. A stick does not grow leaves or flowers or fruits or buds. Dead stick. Let's face what they call reality. However, das can sein nur b'kaycha shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem decides that a dry stick will not flower. Hashem decides. But what did this miracle do in the stick of Aaron? That as is given und geblieben nicht stammen in die Nissi shelamayla gamen miteva. We're talking about something that was not a miracle that just transcended all the laws of nature. Totally permeated this. This miracle became intertwined with the miracle itself. And therefore, the way that it blossomed was natural, without any of the restrictions of time. What normally would happen over 21 days, it happened with every step overnight. And what did that show us? That Hashem has chosen Aaron HaKohen. And, in a way, that it shows us that his nature is kahuna. Makes you wonder about our nature. Our nature is as Yidden is everything that a Yid was put into this world to be. That is our true nature. But it comes to us through natural means. So the true nature of Aaron was to be the Kohen Gadol. The true nature of Yidden, to be the leaders of the world, the teachers of the world, etc. And so, we'll sum this up over here. That would explain going all the way back and saying, wait, the miracle of Yeshua making the sun stand still, Shemet in Divine, and the nace of the Geula of Gimmel Tammuz in Russia, all of those, we can put them all together, and from that we understand a very powerful principle. And we'll continue tomorrow about the next point. But what are we leaving ourselves with? The recognition that we're in deeply miraculous times. All of those miracles tend to be going through nature, so it's very easy to bypass them and not see them. And at the same time, there's a reason why those stages of nature are being gone through. Every time the miracle is searing right through the laws of nature, every one of those laws of nature is becoming permeated with holiness, permeated with that higher purpose, permeated. Nature is switching over from something that just can't be miraculous. Nature is designed to not look miraculous at all. And it's being transformed to a nature that looks intensely miraculous and is in a totally unique way of our generation. Okay, we find ourselves in that ultimate miracle before this Gimmel Tammuz immediately now.